Expanding Science family. I am so excited to have you join me this afternoon if you have a chance to. And last call again for make sure you subscribe. Sorry, I'm like fumbling right now. Make sure you subscribe to get notifications because I'm going to try to go over the projects for parents so you guys can see them the day before. But I don't actually know exactly what time I'll be doing this every day. It's a little harder to do it. So I want to give you guys a heads up about tomorrow so you can see what we're going to do and you'll be prepared for what we do in class. So there are 2 printouts that are now online. They are in the week 1 updated, or they're also just linked into that one blog post. And you'll need both of these because they have the instructions if you want instructions to go along with it as we go together, or if you're doing it on your own. So the first thing we're going to do is called Post-it note lifters, and we're going to learn about forces and how big the force of friction can be. And the force of friction between sort of 2 papers is going to be very small, but as we add it up, it's going to get really surprisingly large. So what you'll need is Post-it notes, probably about 40. This is probably like a stack of 80 or so, or 100. That's probably plenty because you're going to split it into 2 stacks and make an awesome like shuffled stack of Post-it notes, which I'll show you in a second on a smaller amount. And then if you have them, these are like the most industrious C-clamps. I thought we had like little ones, but this is what my husband brought in from the garage. If you have them, you can use some C-clamps in this project, and I'll show you how you can sort of set that up. So what you'll end up doing is you'll have your child count out a certain number of Post-it notes, maybe 5 on each side. You want your stacks to be the same. So I've got 5 and 5. And you'll take a small piece of Scotch tape, and you're going to basically shuffle these. And the Scotch tape is for the very bottom and the very top, because if you're going to spend all this time sort of shuffling papers, and if you bend it wrong, it's just going to pop out and it'll be really frustrating for your child and they won't want to do it. And then they won't get to see the cool thing. So you're basically going to take one on one side, one on the other. The sticky sides are apart. You're going to put it in here, and you're going to just put a little piece of tape on that back piece to make sure like those 2 pieces don't fall apart from each other. And see, it's already happening. And then you just sort of hold them like this, and you do 1 from the left, 1 from the right, 1 from the left, 1 from the right. And we keep doing that until we have them all done. Now, when you do just 5, it's going to be maybe a little bit surprising, but not super surprising. When you do 20 or 30 or 40 or 50 of these, you're going to get a big shock. So once we have this, I put a little piece of tape on the top. And then if you don't have C-clamps, it's just going to be a tug of war. Like, how hard do you have to pull to get them out? And you can record that. If you do have the C-clamps, what we'll do is you'll have, I just ripped it apart, but you have it basically like this, where you have, we have smaller C-clamps, fantastic. You have it where you've got like sort of one side sticky part and the other side sticky part. So you would C-clamp this onto something. So maybe your table, maybe a chair. And so you'd C-clamp that. I'm not going to C-clamp it all the way in. And then you'd C-clamp the other side like this, and you could put a bucket and hang weights, and you can add rocks and weights like kettlebells, dumbbells, whatever you want into this bucket. A stack of 40 should be able to hold somewhere between 50 and 65 pounds, which will be really surprising. So the kids might be like, I don't know about this in the very beginning. And then as you encourage them to do larger stacks, they're actually going to get really engaged because it's like, wait, paper can hold that much. And on this, we have a spot for a hypothesis, which is an educated guess. And it's just ask them, like, from what you know from your life experience, do you think if we did the same thing to a phone book, it could lift a person? Some people might think yes, some people might think no. Or do you think it could lift a car? Nobody has ever thought yes on this the first time for me. And there's a spot to redo that hypothesis after we do the experiment, which is really powerful because at that time they will very likely change their tune. And I'll send out links of videos for you guys where we actually they've done 2 phone books and a crane getting lifted, and they have the car, and then they like blow up the phone book and it still holds, which is amazing. And then there's also 2 semi-trucks that will try to rip a phone book apart. So that is our first one in physics that we'll be doing tomorrow. And again, you basically need Post-it notes. I guess you need a little bit of Scotch tape And if you want to do it like more, I want to weigh, I want to be able to record data, I want it to be more sort of investigatory, you could use C-clamps and clamp it to a table with a bucket and you would add weight. But again, you can do the same observations by just pulling.
So reiterate what they're going to need, and we are also going to be doing it with the kids tomorrow too. As well.
Yes, so you need those. You need Scotch tape, Post-it notes, C-clamps, and a bucket if you're doing that part. And like Evan said, we will be doing it live tomorrow at 11:30. And then the second project we have is Kinetic Rollers. And I like to do these two together because on Post-it notes, we look at forces. And when forces do some work, which work is not like me showing up to a classroom as work, it's actually work in physics, is a type of energy, adding an energy into a system. So we can talk about energy. And these kinetic rollers look at how we can change two different types of energy. Potential energy, which has usually, the way I like to explain it to young kids is, it has the potential to make something move. Not always the case. There's different types of potential, but I like to think of physics as an onion, and we're looking at that outer peel instead of like diving super deep. So the potential energy gives it the potential to move. So I raise this up, I give it potential energy. It could potentially move if I dropped it. Here, if I dropped it, it would potentially move faster at the bottom if I dropped it. And then we talk about kinetic energy, which is the energy when we're moving. So to make your kinetic roller, what you'll need is 2 solo cups. We have pre-drilled a hole in the bottom, and you need a hole or some sort of slit so that you can get some rubber bands through it. You'll need 2 CDs, and if you don't have CDs, you could use something like small paper plates as wheels, and I would maybe even like glue 2 together, and then it's like nice and thick. And when you glue it, if you're doing paper plates, I would glue it this way and not this way, because we're going to have something that's moving around to make it move. And if we have it this way, it's going to rub right here. Whereas if we have it this way, it won't rub, which is actually very handy. If you do use paper plates and not CDs, you'll need to find a way to punch a hole, because CDs have this nice little hole in them pre-made for us. So you need 2 CDs, 2 cups, 2 rubber bands, and basically 2 popsicle sticks. You don't need 2 whole ones, just 2 pieces. And then the most important piece is a bead or like a couple of washers or a nut, something like that will work for that piece. And that's actually a really important piece. So I want to walk you guys through how to make this real fast so that tomorrow you're really prepared to help your kids. So we're going to start with our 2 rubber bands. You're going to loop one through the other, and then you'll loop it back through itself. So if you ever play with hair bands, you're very knowledgeable about how to loop them together. So you just want to loop these guys together like that. And then we're going to make the arm that makes our kinetic roller spin. And the tricky part is you have to get this rubber band through your bead. So it can't be a tiny bead. It could certainly be bigger than what we have here. I have beads that are maybe a little bit small. But I'm taking sort of a broken piece of toothpick, or you could take like a broken piece of popsicle stick to try to shove it through. This is maybe the hardest part of it, to be honest. And it is definitely a part that you might have to work with your kids to do. You just got to shove it up there through it, and then you got to like pinch. I just lost it. You got to pinch it as it comes back out so it doesn't pull itself back out. So we're going to retry it. Let's see. So once it comes through a little bit, if you can get it pinched, then it's really quite handy. In fact, I might just pull. There we go. So I've got it through that piece, and I've got the bead now on the rubber band right there. And to make sure it doesn't fall off, because you've just done pretty much the hardest part, you don't want to lose that work, you're going to insert a popsicle stick into the loop like this. And you're going to do like that, and then you can tighten down on it with the bead, and it'll hold on to it really nicely. It doesn't have to be perfect. This is totally fine, but if you want to, you can sort of try to even them out. All right, so now we have this, and we're going to take one of our cups, and we're actually going to thread this through the bottom. I'm going to take my same little guy. Yeah, we talked about making a hole. I'm going to take the same little guy, and I'm just going to shove it through this hole. I'm going to reach in, and I'm going to grab it. And I'm gonna pull it all the way through. Just like this. Gonna keep pulling. And see, I got a little bit, which side do I need to pull on? There we go. All right. So there is that piece. And now this part's a little tricky, but it's actually easier, I find, for kids to do this part because they have littler hands. What you're gonna do is you can use your same little toothpick. I've actually taken off the pointy, it's a blunt toothpick. And we'll put it onto this rubber band and we're gonna put it through the hole on the other side. I like to really stretch this out. And then we're gonna shove it through this hole right here. And you're gonna grab it on the other side like this. So you basically have a little guy like this. We don't need to worry about this part quite yet. What we're gonna do is we're gonna secure this just like we did the other one. So you're just gonna take a piece of popsicle stick that's broken. It doesn't have to be a whole one. And we are gonna put it through just like that. So that it's through the thing. And now the rubber band is completely stuck between these two cups. And we are almost done. If you want to, you can use tape, like Scotch tape or masking tape to tape this, or you can use a glue gun. Ooh, wait, hang on. I'm not gonna glue it because these are actually the supplies for one of my daughters. We went through pretty much all of our CDs. So you would glue this part, and then you were gonna thread this popsicle stick through the hole in the CD or the hole in your cup. So it comes out like this. And the really important part here is that when you glue this CD or paper plate down, we want to make sure that the popsicle stick is not rubbing on it, that it's sort of a little bit away from it. And that's because the force of friction that we learned about can be really strong, and it's sometimes a complete drag, and it will make it so that this doesn't actually spin, and that's what's going to make it roll. We'll have to glue our CDs on both sides like this. One thing you might find is if you glue one side and the wheel sort of ends up at an angle or like something like this, you're going to get like a funny movement in your kinetic roller. Totally fine if that's what your child wants. If you're finding, oh, my kinetic roller is going in circles and I really don't like that, I want it to go forward, you want to look at your wheels and see if they're actually sort of true or perpendicular to your cup. So basically flat instead of sort of out at a funny angle. And then once those are glued on, I can show you what we'll do. So this is sort of a completed one. You will wind it. You want to make sure they think about winding it the same direction each time, because it's winding the rubber band in here. And if we do it the opposite way, we have to unwind it before we start rewinding it. So you're going to keep winding it. And the way you'll know it's ready is like, this is not going to do much. It's kind of coming back, but not really. So I want to wind it more. And see how when I bring my finger back, it's starting to like sort of pace it. You can wind it a lot or a little. If you wind it too much, your rubber bands will snap in the middle, but you've really got to wind it. I mean, for like a minute or two. And then what happens when you put it on the ground, it'll change that potential energy of winding into a kinetic energy of moving. So it's sort of this fun way to show that we can add energy into a system and give it that potential to move. And then we can change it to that kinetic energy whenever we want. And of course, at some point, this will run out of the potential energy we put in, and it will stop moving at that point, but you can just rewind it. So that's that project. You will need, for this project, you'll need, again, the 2 rubber bands. You'll need 2 popsicle sticks, 2 CDs, 2 solo cups, and I use hot glue. Yes, don't forget holes in your solo cups. If you need to, you could sort of like take a pair of sharp scissors and make the holes like that. If it slits, it's going to be okay because all it's doing is really holding that area. So once you got the rubber band through, you could hot glue over that slit to make sure that it doesn't get worse and break.
We used a drill bit with a 3/8 bit.
We used a 3/8 drill bit for it. And hot glue, if you have hot glue, is going to be really useful. If you don't have hot glue, you could probably get these wheels on with some creative taping, like tape it to the cup in some places, but it just won't be as secure, which is fine. Although I am a huge proponent, this is maybe my favorite thing in my arsenal, because oh my gosh, you give a kid a glue gun and some cardboard, they will not stop building. It's amazing. You should see the castle that my 4th grader made this weekend. So that is what we are making tomorrow. Those are the supplies you need and sort of a run through of what we're doing. So it's not a surprise like it was today. I'm sorry about that. We'll try to get those out. And then Wednesday, we're going to be doing egg drops. So we'll have an egg drop challenge. You'll need raw eggs in Ziploc bags along with your recycling bin, whatever you have in it. Or if you want to be like, if you have an older student and you want to be like, make it really tough for them, you could just give them a box of toothpicks and tape and their raw egg in Ziploc. The Ziploc bag is to put the raw egg in. So that will be coming up on Wednesday, and we'll sort of do a quick video on that too. So thank you so much for joining us. Make sure you tell all your friends to come join our little science family, and we will see you tomorrow at 11:30 a.m. live. Make sure you subscribe, get notifications, and give us a thumbs up on our project so we can spread the word. Have a great afternoon.